You wake up every day with the same empty feeling in your chest. You don't talk about it, but it's there. That silent question echoing inside your head. Is this really it? You get up, go through the motions, check your phone, eat something without thinking, scroll a little more, and then convince yourself that you're just resting. But deep down, you know what's happening. You're not resting, you're avoiding. You're not tired, you're drained. And not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing too little of what actually matters. This is what most people will never say out loud. The comfort you're clinging to is exactly what's killing your potential. Slowly, quietly. Comfort doesn't scream, it whispers. It tells you to hit the snooze button. It says tomorrow is a better day to start. It says just one more hour, one more episode, one more scroll. And you listen, not because you're weak, but because it's easier. It's always easier to obey your comfort than to confront your potential. Because confronting your potential means you'll have to admit that you've been wasting it, and that hurts. But that's the pain you need to feel right now. You weren't born to sit in a loop of distraction, regret, and false satisfaction, and yet here you are, watching your goals fade into ideas, watching your body slow down, watching your mind soften, watching your life shrink, one easy choice at a time. This is the danger of the easy path. It never looks dangerous at first. It looks soft, warm, familiar, harmless, but it steals from you, not all at once, piece by piece. You lose energy, ambition, clarity, discipline, identity, until one day you can't even remember what you were chasing, only that you stopped. The couch you're sitting on? It's not just furniture, it's a trap. A beautifully cushioned lie, the kind that rewards you now and bankrupts you later. The kind that lulls you to sleep with short-term pleasure and robs you of long-term peace. And the worst part is that you think you're choosing it. You think it's your decision, but is it? Or are you just reacting? Think about how many times you've told yourself, just today, or I'll start fresh on Monday. Point. How many promises have you made to yourself that were broken before noon? How many goals have died in your hands because you decided to wait for the right moment? And here's the truth you don't want to hear. This is the right moment. There will never be a better one. Not next week, not next year. Now. You know this already. You've felt it every time you avoided the gym, every time you left the book unread, every time you scrolled through someone else's progress instead of building your own. That guilt you carry, that's your spirit revolting against a life that doesn't reflect your real worth. You were meant for more, but you keep choosing less. Not because you don't care, but because comfort made you forget how much it costs. Comfort tells you that you deserve to take it easy, that you've earned a break, that you need to be kind to yourself. But let's be honest, you're not being kind, you're being cruel. You're letting your future self pay for the laziness of your present self. You're handing over your time, your energy, your focus, your discipline to an invisible thief called ease, and he never stops taking. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, I want to hear about it. What part hit you the hardest? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them, and if you're on a journey of growth like this, make sure to subscribe so you never walk it alone. It doesn't start with a major decision. It starts with tiny moments. You say you'll wake up early, but hit snooze. You say you'll work on that project, but scroll instead. You say you'll stop complaining, but do it anyway. These aren't small things. These are bricks. And every day you stack them into the prison that keeps you from becoming who you were meant to be. But here's the twist. The same way you built that prison, you can build your way out. But it starts with seeing the truth. And the truth is brutal. You've been choosing ease over excellence. And now it's costing you your fire. Let me show you something real. Think about a lion born in captivity. It's well-fed, safe, comfortable, but it will never hunt, never fight, never feel the thrill of its own power. That's what comfort does to you. It tames you. And the longer you stay tamed, the harder it is to remember that you were born to roar. You don't need another inspirational quote. You need to feel the urgency of this moment. You need to understand that nothing changes until you do, and no change is possible until you reject the illusion that comfort is your friend. It's not. Comfort is the drug. And every time you take a hit, you fall further behind. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. What part of your life are you pretending is fine because you're too afraid to fix it? Where have you accepted good enough when you know it's killing your soul? There is no pride in a life of avoidance, no peace in a day spent escaping your own potential. You weren't meant to numb yourself through distraction. You were meant to build something that outlives you. But that requires sacrifice. That requires grit. That requires a full rejection of the modern lie that comfort is success. If your life feels heavy right now, if you feel like something's missing, it's not a mystery. You know exactly what it is. You just haven't faced it. You've been putting pillows over the alarm clock hoping it would stop ringing. But it won't. That ringing is your conscience. That ache in your chest isn't anxiety. It's awakening. It's the part of you that still believes. The part of you that's not dead yet. The part of you that knows you're capable of so much more. And now you have a choice. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now. You can go back to scrolling, numbing, avoiding, or you can stand up. You can take one uncomfortable step forward. You can stop decorating your prison and start designing your freedom. You can choose the hard path, the one that breaks you, builds you, burns you, and rebuilds you stronger than ever. Because the truth is, comfort never gave you peace. It only delayed the war, and the war is here. The only question is, will you fight or will you lie back down? And if you do choose to rise, if you choose to walk into the discomfort, something changes, not out there, in you, and that's where the real power begins. Shall we go deeper? When you were a child, the moment you cried, someone picked you up. The moment you struggled, someone stepped in. And with good intentions, they softened the world around you. They told you not to push too hard, not to stress, not to overdo it. And maybe they were trying to protect you, but in doing so, they trained you to believe that discomfort is danger, that anything that hurts, tires, or challenges you should be avoided. What no one told you is that this mindset, this subtle programming, would become the invisible ceiling on your entire life. From school to adulthood, the same pattern repeated. You were praised for avoiding risks, rewarded for playing it safe. You were told to choose the stable job, the comfortable routine, the path of least resistance. You weren't trained to be strong. You were trained to survive without effort, to do enough to get by, but never enough to become unforgettable. And over time, you started to internalize it. If something feels hard, I must be doing something wrong. But that is the lie. One of the most dangerous lies ever told. Because the truth is, nothing meaningful comes without struggle. Nothing lasting is built in ease. Every breakthrough, every moment of power, every transformation in history was born through resistance. And yet, here you are, addicted to comfort and allergic to pressure. Not because you're lazy, but because you were never taught how to suffer with purpose. We live in a world that worships convenience, one-click purchases, instant gratification, fast food, fast dopamine, fast everything. But here's the catch. Fast results create slow people. When everything comes too easily, you never build the resilience to handle what truly matters. You become dependent on shortcuts, and the moment life demands endurance, you collapse. Think about it. When was the last time you stayed consistent with something hard? Not just for a week, but for months? When was the last time you did something uncomfortable, not because someone made you do it, but because you chose the pain? You can't remember, can you? That's not your fault, but it is your responsibility now. Let me give you a brutal truth. The world doesn't care how much potential you have. It only respects what you discipline into reality. And the people who rise, the ones who dominate, who lead, who command respect, they're not always the smartest. They're not always the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to let their comfort define their limits. They trained differently. They chose discomfort every day until it became familiar. And that's the secret no one tells you. Discipline isn't born from motivation. It's born from repetition, from choosing the hard thing again and again until your mind stops resisting it. There's a concept in psychology called learned helplessness. It's when someone believes after repeated failure or discomfort that they are powerless to change their situation, even when change is possible. Many people live this way, not because they are helpless, but because they've been conditioned to feel helpless. Every time they tried and failed, they heard, "See, I told you it's too hard. Better stay in your lane." And they listened. And now they wear that limitation like a second skin. But what if that skin is suffocating you? What if every time you settle, shrink, or quit, you're reinforcing a false identity, one that was never yours to begin with? You weren't born to be soft. You were born into a world that rewarded softness. But that doesn't mean you have to stay there. Let's talk about choices, the tiny invisible ones you make every single day, the ones that shape your character far more than the big decisions. You come home tired, you can work on your goals or watch Netflix. You wake up early. You can train your body or stay under the blanket. You face a problem. You can attack it or avoid it. And these moments, they look small, but they're everything. Every time you choose the easy road, your mind records it. It whispers, "We don't push, we don't stretch, we don't fight." And that whisper becomes your identity. This is not about becoming a robot. It's about becoming alive. About waking up to the war you're losing. Not out there, but inside your own habits. There's a reason the gym hurts. There's a reason studying is boring. There's a reason growth feels like dying sometimes. It's because you're killing the version of yourself that's not ready for the next level. You're tearing the muscle, burning the fat, breaking the mold, and every part of you will scream to go back. That's how you know it's working. So here's what you do. You make one choice that contradicts your comfort, just one, and then you do it again and again until you start to trust yourself, until your brain learns a new pattern. We show up now. We don't run. We don't fold. We finish what we start. Do you want to know something wild? Your brain doesn't care if you're lying to yourself. As long as you repeat it enough, you can actually train your brain to crave discomfort. But it starts with giving it a new identity. Not "I'll try," not "I'm not sure I can," but "I do hard things," period. And you don't wait for motivation. Motivation is a liar. It's temporary. It's emotional. You build a new system where action leads the emotion, where your feet move before your feelings do. And that's when the shift begins. That's when you stop negotiating with your weakness and start aligning with your strength. Let me leave you with this. The difference between who you are and who you want to be isn't talent. It's not luck. It's not some magical secret. It's how often you choose the hard way over the easy one. That's it. And every day, the universe will test you with that question again and again. Will you choose the pain that changes you or the comfort that chains you? Because the chain may feel soft right now, but sooner or later, you'll realize it was never protecting you. It was only holding you back, and the moment you decide to break it, you won't just feel pain, you'll feel power. Pain is not the enemy. That idea that pain should be avoided at all costs is one of the greatest deceptions of modern life. We've been conditioned to treat pain like it's a malfunction, like something has gone wrong. But what if pain is the proof that something is finally going right? What if pain is not a punishment, but a signal? A message that you're stepping into territory you were always meant to explore. Every part of you has been trained to retreat from pain. Physical pain, take a pill. Emotional pain, numb it. Mental pain, distract yourself. But here's the truth no one taught you in school. Real growth is forged in discomfort. And the longer you run from it, the longer you delay the person you were supposed to become. Let me know in the comments, what's one comfort you're ready to give up to reclaim your power? I'd love to hear your story. And don't forget to hit subscribe. This is just the beginning of something bigger. Your muscles grow when you tear them. That's not poetry. It's biology. Resistance triggers growth. Pressure creates adaptation. And your mind, your character, your discipline, they work exactly the same way. The moment you feel the friction, the moment you're tempted to quit, the moment it all feels too heavy, that is exactly when the transformation begins. But most people quit at the edge of that moment. They misinterpret the signal. They think discomfort means danger. But what it really means is expansion. It means you're about to break through the version of yourself that couldn't handle what's coming next. And unless you sit with that pain, unless you stay there, breathe through it, and push anyway, you'll never reach the other side. Think about it. Every major breakthrough you've had in life was preceded by pressure. That difficult conversation, that risk you took, that heartbreak you survived, that failure that shattered your ego. In the moment, it felt like everything was falling apart. But looking back, it was the exact point where everything began to come together. That wasn't destruction. That was evolution. And evolution is never gentle. Pain, when embraced with purpose, becomes the most honest teacher you will ever meet. It strips you of your excuses. It exposes what you've been avoiding. And if you let it, it will introduce you to the part of yourself that you've never met before. The part that doesn't give up. Most people never meet that part, not because it doesn't exist, but because they turn back too soon. They hit the wall, and instead of climbing, they collapse. Instead of asking, "What is this teaching me?" they ask, "Why is this happening to me?" And the story they tell themselves becomes their cage. "I'm not cut out for this. I can't handle it. I'll never change." Or, but what if you flipped the narrative? What if pain didn't mean stop? What if it meant go deeper? There's a story about a Navy SEAL who said, "When your mind tells you you're done, you're only at 40%. Think about that. At the point where you feel completely exhausted, mentally fried, emotionally overwhelmed, you still have more than half of your capacity left unused. That's the power you're leaving on the table because you were taught to fear discomfort instead of respecting it. And this isn't about grinding yourself into burnout. This is about building your threshold, expanding your capacity so that the things that once broke you no longer even shake you. That starts by choosing pain with purpose, waking up early when it hurts, saying no to the easy distraction, having the conversation you've been dreading, showing up to the workout, the practice, the discipline, even when no one's watching and nothing feels exciting. Because discipline is not born in glory, it's born in silence. And the more you embrace that silence, the more you begin to trust the process. You stop asking for results in 5 days and start becoming the kind of person who doesn't need permission to pursue what matters. There's an old saying in the military, "Embrace the suck." It means that suffering is not something to survive, it's something to lean into. Because on the other side of that suffering is strength. And not the kind of strength you perform, but the kind you carry. Quiet, unshakable, earned. You want confidence, endurance, grit. You won't find it in a motivational video. You'll find it in the moment you want to quit. And you choose not to. That single choice rewires everything. It tells your brain, we don't run, we rise. But here's the trick. You won't always feel ready. In fact, most of the time you'll feel completely unprepared. And that's exactly when you must move. Because waiting for clarity, for certainty, for the right time, that's another disguise for fear. And fear hates motion. It only grows when you're still. So you move, you act, you show your fear that you're not afraid to feel the pain it tried to protect you from. And suddenly, the power shifts. You're not the victim anymore. You're the one in control. And once you've taken control once, you can do it again. You start to realize that pain isn't a wall. It's a doorway. One that only opens for those who are willing to knock with their own blood and sweat. And here's something you might not expect. Over time, you start to crave that discomfort. Not in a sadistic way, but in a sacred way. Because you begin to recognize it as a path, a guide, a map leading you somewhere deeper than the surface-level success everyone else is chasing. You no longer avoid the storm, you walk into it. Not because you love chaos, but because you've learned that the calm you seek is forged inside the storm. You become dangerous, not because you're violent, but because you can endure. You become trustworthy, not because you've never failed, but because you didn't stay there. You become grounded, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. And all of this, all of it, begins with a choice most people never make, to stay when it hurts, to breathe when it burns, to walk forward when everything inside you begs to run. Because on the other side of that fire, there is someone waiting for you, not a savior, not a coach, not a mentor. It's you, the version of you that was always there, waiting to be discovered. And now that you've seen the truth about pain, you're ready to learn how to build a new normal from it. Because once you stop running from discomfort, the real work begins. And that's where everything starts to change. Change doesn't happen in revolutions, it happens in routines. The most powerful transformation you'll ever experience won't come from one massive decision. It will come from 1,000 small ones, quiet ones, uncelebrated ones, the kind of decisions no one sees, no one claps for, no one even knows about. But those are the ones that matter most, because they don't just build results, they build identity. You want to become stronger. You don't need a life-changing event. You need a Tuesday morning where you wake up and do the thing you said you'd do, even if no one would have blamed you for skipping it. You need a late night where you say no to what feels good and yes to what builds you. You need those cold, gray days where nothing feels worth it, and you go anyway. That's how transformation works, not by waiting for a spark of inspiration, but by becoming the kind of person who keeps going when the spark is gone. This is the part of the journey no one likes to talk about, the boring part, the part that feels like nothing is happening. No applause, no breakthrough, just you, the repetition, and the silence. But that silence, that's the soil. That's where the roots grow. That's where character is built. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. But it's sacred. Because if you can win here, where it's still, quiet, and hard, you can win anywhere. There's a reason champions are made in the off-season. It's because they're willing to do what's necessary long before the lights come on. They train when no one's watching. They prepare when no one believes. And when the moment finally arrives, they're not surprised by their own strength. They're simply stepping into the identity they've been building every single day. You've been taught to expect motivation, to wait until you feel ready. But readiness is a myth. Discipline is reality. And discipline doesn't care how you feel. It only cares what you do. That's the shift that changes everything, when you stop needing to feel like it and start doing it because it aligns with the person you want to become. This isn't about perfection. This is about persistence. You'll fail. You'll skip days. You'll make mistakes. That's not the problem. The problem is when you let failure define you instead of refine you. Every mistake is a message. Every slip is a signal. Not that you're broken, but that you're being shaped. Let it shape you. Let it toughen you. Let it teach you how to stand back up faster than ever. There's a powerful truth in neuroscience called neuroplasticity. It means your brain is capable of rewiring itself constantly. Every time you repeat a habit, good or bad, you reinforce that neural pathway. That means every small act of discipline is literally changing the structure of your brain. You're not just changing what you do, you're changing who you are. And that's where real freedom lives, not in controlling the world, but in controlling your response to it. So what does this look like practically? It means setting the alarm and actually getting up. It means writing for 30 minutes even when the words feel stuck. It means preparing your meals when you'd rather order out. It means showing up to the gym even when you don't see progress yet. It means choosing a difficult conversation over silent resentment. It means sticking to your budget when everyone else is flashing fake success online. It's not glamorous, but it's real. And real builds legacy. Every time you do what you said you'd do, your self-respect grows, and with it, your confidence. Not the fake confidence that comes from external validation, but the deep, unshakable kind that says, I trust myself now. That's what most people are missing. They don't trust themselves. They don't believe they'll follow through, and so they don't even try. But you're building that trust again, brick by brick. Every small promise kept is a message to your soul. We are serious this time, and over time, something amazing starts to happen. The hard things don't feel as hard, not because they get easier, but because you get stronger. What once felt impossible becomes automatic. The things you used to dread become normal. And that's how you know you've created a new standard, a new rhythm, a new normal. It's the difference between discipline and willpower. Willpower runs out. It's like a battery. But discipline is a system. And once it's installed, it starts to run on its own. That's why it's so important to make discomfort part of your daily rhythm. You don't have to suffer endlessly, but you do have to train yourself to choose challenge, to step into resistance, to treat difficulty like a workout, not a punishment. Think of it like sharpening a blade. You don't sharpen a sword once. You do it over and over until it can cut through anything. That's what you're doing with your habits. Sharpening, repeating, forging, and the beauty is, you don't have to wait years to feel it. You'll notice the shift almost immediately. The pride that comes after a hard day, lived with integrity. The quiet strength of knowing you didn't flinch. The calm confidence that whispers, "I'm not who I was." People will notice it too. They won't know exactly what changed, but they'll feel it. Your presence will be different. Your energy, your decisions, and eventually, your results. But all of that begins in the dark, in the cold, in the ordinary, where no one sees, where no one claps, where it's just you and the work. That's the proving ground. That's the birthplace of greatness. And once you've made peace with that process, once you've built a routine that embraces discomfort as a teacher, you're ready for the final stage. Because discipline is the foundation. But what comes next is power. Power isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. Real power walks quietly, but everything in its presence shifts. You know it when it enters the room, not because it announces itself, but because it doesn't need to. That's the power you were meant to carry, but you won't find it in external achievements, in applause, or in validation. You find it when you've faced the silence, chosen the hard path, embraced the discomfort, and stayed consistent when no one was watching. Power is the reward for walking through the fire and realizing you didn't burn, you forged. By now, you've gone through the pain. You've confronted the comfort that was holding you hostage. You've started building discipline from the ground up, stacking small wins into something unshakable. And now you're standing at the edge of something most people will never reach: self-mastery. But here's what you need to understand. Self-mastery isn't control over others. It's control over your own impulses. It's the ability to act in alignment with your values, even when everything in you screams to take the easier way out. That's power. The power to say no when temptation knocks. The power to stand your ground when fear rises. The power to hold the vision when everyone else only sees limitations. This kind of power isn't given. It's earned moment by moment. Through repetition, through reflection, through choosing principle over pleasure again and again until it becomes second nature. And when you reach that level, when your choices begin to echo your deepest convictions, you become untouchable. There's a certain kind of clarity that comes with this, a sharpness, like fog lifting from your life. You begin to see things others don't. You spot distractions faster. You recognize emotional traps and refuse to step into them. You stop chasing empty highs because you've felt something deeper, the high of alignment, the high of knowing that your actions and your values are finally walking in the same direction. This is where your energy shifts. You stop leaking it to things that don't matter. No more explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. No more seeking approval from crowds who've never built what you're building. Your power doesn't come from their acceptance. It comes from your alignment. And when you operate from this place, the world responds differently. Not because it changes, but because you do. You stop begging for opportunities and start creating them. You stop hoping for better days and start engineering them. You stop waiting for signs and start becoming the signal. You know how a lion moves? Slowly, confidently. Not because it's the fastest, but because it knows what it is. That's how you begin to move. Less panic, more purpose. You stop sprinting toward validation and start walking toward legacy, because you're not here to impress anyone. You're here to impact everyone you're meant to. Which part of this message challenged you the most today? Share it in the comments. I promise your voice matters here. And if you haven't yet, subscribe now. We're building something powerful together, one truth at a time. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean life gets easier. The storms still come. The doubt still creeps in. The setbacks still hurt. But the difference now is, you're not shaken by them. You're rooted, grounded. You've become the type of person who doesn't collapse at the first sign of trouble. You adapt. You evolve. You overcome. Not because you're superhuman, but because you've trained your nervous system to respond with resilience instead of retreat. This is psychological sovereignty, and most people never experience it. They live reactive lives, always responding, never creating. But you've built a different system, one that doesn't crumble when your plan doesn't go perfectly, one that doesn't depend on things going your way, because real power isn't about control, it's about capacity. The capacity to hold pain without becoming bitter, the capacity to sit in uncertainty without spiraling, the capacity to rise again without losing heart. And when people ask how you did it, how you changed, how you built this energy, this presence, you'll smile. Because they won't understand the nights you spent alone wrestling with doubt. They won't see the mornings you showed up when everything inside you wanted to stay in bed. They won't know the wars you fought in silence, but you'll know. And more importantly, you'll know what it cost. Not in money, not in time, but in identity. Because to become who you are now, you had to bury 1,000 versions of who you used to be. The undisciplined one, the distracted one, the one who blamed, complained, and waited. You killed him. And in his place you built something sacred, something fierce, something free. And now you stand in the rare space where most people never arrive, not because they couldn't, but because they wouldn't endure what you chose to. And from this place, you don't just live differently. You lead differently. You inspire not with words, but with your presence, with your example, with your quiet consistency. And the best part? This is only the beginning, because now that you've taken back your power, you're ready to use it. Not just to elevate yourself, but to lift others, to create, to contribute, to build a legacy that doesn't just live through your name, but through the lives you've impacted. You're no longer just surviving, you're not even just growing, you're leading, and the world has no idea what's coming next.